everybody, and welcome to another video here on Philly Sports Network. Now, straight away, you're going to notice two differences. Number one, the dodgy haircut, alright? I need a trim. I went to go to the barbers today, and they were shut, which is the second most disappointing thing of 2019, behind the Philadelphia Eagles. And the second thing is green screen. So now everyone that had a go at the office backdrop before, gone now, alright? We're moving up in the world. But what I wanted to take the time to talk to you about today was something that Doug Peterson told the media during his Thursday press conference. Now, the Eagles obviously 5-7. They've got 4 games remaining, 4 very winnable games, and the first one is against the New York Giants in Monday Night Football. The season is not over, but there is absolutely reason to believe that there's going to be a lot of turnover this year. Whether it be personnel, coaching staff, front office, whoever, or even the band, who are very good. There's bound to be a lot of movement. Now, Peterson met with the media today and was asked about accountability on his coaching staff, and he gave an answer that I think was very fair too. He didn't have to answer it in the way that he did, with that much clarity and transparency, but it did raise a lot of question marks. The most important thing he said, as you can see the quote up there now, is that he said that he grades positional coaches in terms of production from the position they coach, which makes plenty of sense. But if we look at the way this season has gone, it makes it confounding that a move hadn't been made sooner to move some guys around or promote someone from within. The main quote is that Peterson said, listen, your performance is based on your players and how well they perform. So if we take that basic philosophy and we move that all the way to look through every position, we can get a rough idea as to how this offseason is going to pan out. So buckle up, we're going to look at every Eagles positional coach and see who's going to be in the firing line and who isn't. As always though, guys, if you are new around here, it would be amazing if you could hit that subscribe button. We're trying to upload every single day on the run up to Christmas. It would be amazing if you could join our community. We're this close to 15,000 subscribers, and we do now have an official Discord. If you want to join that, the link is down in the description. You can talk to me, all of our writers here at Philly Sports Network, and connect with fellow Philadelphia sports fans. The first name on the list is obviously quarterbacks coach Press Taylor, and this is a weird one because replacing the QB whisperer John DeFilippo was never going to be easy. And if we're taking that basic grading criteria, then it's hard to really fault him. I mean, Carson Wentz has still thrown 20 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, completed 62% of his passes. He's not had a bad year considering the total lack of help around him. But what I did want to bring up were the coachable traits, which is poise inside the pocket. We're seeing a difference, as we keep mentioning, between him escaping pressure and evading pressure. They're two very different things. One is Russell Wilson, where you can maneuver the pocket and manipulate it at your will. The other one is just get the hell out of there and sling it deep, which is what we see from Carson Wentz a lot. The footwork inside the pocket has regressed. That was something that dramatically improved between 2016 and 2017. Hasn't been the same since the ACL recovery. And then finally, the turnovers. He's coughing the ball up way too much. This has been a career-long thing, where as he's being brought to the ground, he'll just aimlessly chuck it in an attempt to evade a sack, and that can often end up hurting the team. So ball security is a coachable trait. Footwork is a coachable trait. Poise is a coachable trait. And we don't want to take away from the aggressiveness that makes Carson Wentz so great, but at least hone it in and remold that. And I don't think we've seen that from Press Taylor. So for me, Press Taylor is 50-50 as to whether or not he comes back next year, but I don't know, it's tricky. Running backs coach Juice Staley. Now, where do we start with that? Staley has been a staple of this Eagles coaching staff for quite some time, and there is no reason to question his position within the organization. A lot of people want to see him promoted to offensive coordinator, and I fully understand that move. He already helps coordinate the run game, and I do think that the progress of Miles Sanders as a rookie, what he did with Wendell Smallwood, when he helped establish a real downhill aggressive runner to a previously West Coast zonal back, which is what we're seeing out of Miles Sanders. He helped turn Corey Clement into a Super Bowl hero, used names like Jay Ajayi, LeGarrette Blount, and of course Jordan Howard extremely well. I don't think Juice Staley has any reason to be worried. He should be a mainstay on this Eagles coaching staff. The same can be said for Jeff Stoutland, who 2 of his pupils in Lane Johnson and Brandon Brooks have now earned themselves monster contract extensions, which is huge for the Eagles. On the left-hand side, you've got Andre Dillard for another 4 years after this, and Isaac Seumalo has developed into a serviceable starter under his guise, so I don't think that's a reason to be concerned. Either way, I mean, this has just been a great year for Stoutland. It's been a great tenure for Stoutland. He's going nowhere. Tight ends coach Justin Peel. This one is a little bit tricky because on one side of the coin, you've got Zach Ertz shattering records left, right and centre because, well, no wide receivers are doing anything of relevance, so he kind of has to. And the Stanford product has become a much better blocker over the last few years. But on the other aspect of it, Dallas Goedert as a receiver very much relies on his frame and his physical size and dominance to winning contested catches. He struggles at getting open over the middle or creating separation through the stem of the route, and that's something which can be developed over time. It's only his second year, but if we know what we're looking at moving forward, it's easy to have this conversation down the line. I think Goedert has been a remarkable red zone weapon. Ertz is easily one of the best, if not the best, pass catching tight ends in the league. No reason to be concerned here, but there is still work to do for Peel, which is an encouraging sign. Wide receiver coach Carson Walsh. No. He's been about as valuable to this Eagles coaching staff as this half-eaten pack of biscuits. Coconut rings, actually. So I don't need to say anything. I mean, there's nothing I can say to defend him. There's certainly a lot I can say to criticise him, but you guys already have those criticisms. I don't need to re-go over them here, just to completely avoid any added stress we're going to feel. Defensive line coach Philip Daniels, I think, has done a wonderful job in stepping up to replace Chris Wilson, and that's a tough ask. Chris Wilson was one of the best defensive line coaches in the league, and Daniels has helped Brandon Graham get on pace for a career year. We've seen flurries of production from Josh Sweat, which was previously unheard of in his rookie season, and we've even seen names like Anthony Rush, an undrafted free agent bought right in the middle of the season when depth was lacking, to come in and really take the weight off of Fletcher Cox, something that was missing last year when depth went down. So I'm all for keeping Philip Daniels around. I think he has been excellent since joining this Eagles team, and I can't see him going anywhere just yet. Linebacker coach Ken Flagioli, when you Google his name, it comes up Ken Flagioli tattoo. Now, I don't know what he's got tattooed, but it's not been good linebacker play this year, let me tell you. Whether it was the injury to Nigel Bradham or just young guys who aren't quite ready for the step up, I don't know. But linebacker play has been sporadic at best. We've seen spurts of production from Nate Gary, but that's been few and far between. Some worrying inconsistencies. And then you've got names like Zach Brown, who was brought on as a veteran and cut after being a bit mean about Kirk Cousins. That went well. Camu Grugier-Hill has been impressive using sideline to sideline speed, but hasn't really seen a bigger role than Nate Gary, which in itself is questionable. TJ Edwards is an undrafted free agent, again has had some flashes, but it's been middle with inconsistency. The linebacker group is one of the worst in the league, but is this because the Eagles don't value the position? LJ4. Or is it because of the coaching? I would say a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, but I could see Flagioli sticking around after this year. Cornerback coach Corey Undlin. Now this one is really tricky, because if you go by a case-by-case basis, it's really difficult to grade. Undlin was a former defensive backs coach over in Denver, worked with names like Chris Harris Jr. That's why many wanted him during that trade window period, and it's easy to see why. But in terms of the Eagles cornerbacks he's had, Jalen Mills, when he first came into the league, was thrown into the deep end as a starter in replace of Laodis McKelvin. Oh, God, remember that. Since then, the ceiling's always been pretty low, and Undlin's done a good job of helping him surpass that somewhat. Ronald Darby, just don't get me started. Please don't get me started. Sidney Jones' experiment seems to be over. Rasul Douglas can't get on the field for some reason, despite the fact he actually makes the most of his opportunities when on the field, and he's easily the best jump ball specialist of the trio, and he has shown some impressive development as a tackler as well, most notably at the end of last year. Avonte Maddox, I would argue, has not been the same player this year as he was in his rookie season, and Captain Cravon slander will not be tolerated on this video, but I don't think he's been healthy or around long enough to really say, hey, Undlin has helped him in this aspect of his game. You can see cornerback being a tricky position to evaluate, because the starters are pretty much gone after this year, which means you're going to be working with a fresh group. You'd like to see Undlin, who's one of the better DB coaches in the league, stick around, but is there at least part of this constant suffocation which can absolutely be accredited to him? I think it's only right. Like, Jim Schwartz and his scheme can only be accountable for so much. I mean, especially last week against the Dolphins, that wasn't scheme, that was talent being overwhelmed. And I've been the first to make excuses for the corners and say, hey, there was miscommunication here, there was a breakdown in coverage there. That's not the case last week against the Dolphins. It was embarrassing, and I think Undlin at some point is going to come under fire. As for safeties coach Tim Houck, or Hawk, or Hook, or Tim, we're going to call him Tim. I just think there's been a lot of miscommunications on the back end this year. The safeties haven't performed well. They haven't been able to find that third safety role. They've gone through several different candidates, from Jonathan Cyprian to Rudy. There's been a few, alright? But overall, I think Malcolm Jenkins and Rodney McLeod both being leaders of this defense is probably going to keep him in line with a job at least for one more year. But the Eagles have to draft a safety, and that's when he's going to have to be graded. Let me know what you think, guys. Do you want to see a video on the coordinators? Do you want to see more of this this type of thing, let me know, and please be nice about the haircut. From myself, Liam Jenkins, my Twitter is at LiamJenkinsPSN. I'll see you soon.